Welcome, one and all, to episode 2 of Producing Protagonists. Why don't we introduce ourselves?
I'm Zachary. I'm here for the ride.
And I am Colby, and Zach, you're here for so much more than that.
Well, I have such a poor understanding of all things for all of this. What's going on, what the video's about, what the games is, how the game system works, that, I'm just here for funsies. It'll be cool.
Cool. Well, here on episode 2, we are doing Hawkeye, Green Arrow, Robin Hood, the general archer archetype. So, let's see. Did you have those?
Not to be confused with Archer.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's a thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an adult cartoon.
Yeah.
Hilarious TV show. Also deeply inappropriate. Yeah. So, Green Arrow, Robin Hood, Hawkeye. Going into this, obviously, they're a human and went with the gymnast archetype because you're going to need a lot of agility to be swinging a bow around, and all of that. Does anyone want to argue with me and tell me I'm stupid yet?
I mean, I think there could be a case. Yeah, I think there could be a case made for soldier, but it depends on who exactly you're talking about at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and obviously you're gonna have to specify personalities and such, for they're not all the exact same personality, which we get into later when we get into the strengths and flaws and all that. But yeah, and let's see, career went with the scoundrel. Felt like that was very fitting for especially Robin Hood. But also, Hawkeye has a checkered past, and Green Arrow isn't necessarily the most upstanding person in the world.
Yeah, for unfortunately, there's no carny career, because that's what Hawkeye really is. So he got trained in a carnival.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think gymnast and that kind of stuff is probably the best thing for that kind of thing.
Yeah. And the gymnast, just so you know, it isn't in the core rule book, it is in the expanded archetypes. And if we move on down to characteristics and all that, the gymnast naturally gives you a 3 in agility, a 1 in presence, and a 2 in everything else. And some of you might be like, oh, but Colby, they're really charming, charismatic, and that I would say the same thing. We're probably going to say every episode. Protagonists are just good at everything, so we can't just give them 4s and all the stats.
Yeah, most protagonists have plot armor and all that stuff. So this is best estimates, and who knows? Like a lot of the stuff that we deal with in popular media would have 500 experience points or whatever, dealing with all that stuff. So
Yeah, and so just starting out, you get the typical starting XP, which you should always, 100% of the time, no exception, just dump all of it into characteristics. And so that's how you end up with a 4 agility, and I went ahead and gave him a 3 in intellect and a 3 in cunning. The intellect I went with because there's a couple of skills that you can pick up that allow you to craft new items that are intellect based. And so this is one of the 2 ways that I found that you can get into making arrows that have different effects.
Yeah, otherwise you got to go with magic, and that doesn't always work out great.
Yeah.
The other way we will address once we get into talents. But as for now, 4 agility, most important because you're just going to be shooting a bow all the time. Intellect, and then cunning. A lot of them are very skullduggery kind of based. You want to be able to sneak in with stealth and, I don't know, unlock locks and things of that nature. Be deceptive.
Yeah, plus a lot of them are like survivalists. Like Green Arrow needed to have a high cunning for the survival skill when he was trapped on the island by himself. And then like Streetwise would be like hunting down bad guys in back alleys. So
yeah. So it fits. And then you also get into survival and Streetwise with, say, Robin Hood, who's used to running around with a surly crowd. And going down with the human gymnast and scoundrel, you end up with cool, coordination, skullduggery, stealth, streetwise, ranged or ranged light. I went ahead and marked both of them. It just depends on, I guess, what your GM wants, whether you're going to split up heavy and light or not. And charm and deception are all going to be your career skills, which all seem very fitting for these.
I'm noticing, like, I'm kind of like thinking through some of these characters, and I'm noticing that a lot of them have really similar like personalities as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if that's like a thing, like if this is a trope, like an archetype that is pretty well codified or not.
Yeah, I think these archer characters are probably most closely related to the rogue archetype. So, you know, the dashing rogue. Between the gymnast and then the you get to put one rank and 4 different of your career skills. So just went ahead and started off obviously with the ranged / ranged light. Gave him a little charm to, I don't know, maybe offset how bad he is at that.
if you were gonna make Green Arrow, we also have to realize like the aristocrat background or archetype is not enough money for Green Arrow. He would have to have like 10,000 credits or dollars or whatever your universe is using just to start out with, because he's a rich boy.
Yeah.
Moving down onto weapons, you basically, for bows, starting out, you have 2 choices of just a regular bow or a longbow. And I went with the longbow. The main differences are a regular bow only goes to medium range, while a longbow goes to long range. I think a regular bow only has damage of 7, so the longbow gives you an extra point of damage. And then a regular bow is unwieldy 2, while a longbow is unwieldy 3. And that feature, unwieldy, basically means your character needs to have whatever ranks of unwieldy it is. That needs to be your character's characteristic for agility. Otherwise, you get a penalty for using it. So an unwieldy 3, you need at least a 3 agility to use it without a penalty.
Yeah, and that's a black setback die for each point you don't have.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's pretty straightforward.
So that is meant to kind of be a hindrance to you, but if you go ahead and drop that 4 in agility, this basically just makes a weapon that most of your enemies probably won't be able to use against you very well. Moving down to motivation. I just went ahead and assumed one of them, went with Green Arrow for this, and just pulled examples from the book. Adaptable, no matter what life throws at you, always rise to the challenge. That sounds a lot like the getting stranded on an island and surviving thing that he did. Flaw, recklessness. I feel like that's a common thing, even with Robin Hood and all that. They're always doing crazy schemes and, I don't know, shooting arrows across rooftops and rappelling down the rope or whatever. So with, say, Robin Hood, the desire for justice is pretty obvious. Take from the rich, give to the poor too oppressed. With Green Arrow in Justice League Unlimited, he has a whole big story arc of actually not liking the Justice League and not wanting to join in the beginning because he was like, you all are off saving the world while like a random, I don't know, store owner gets mugged and you don't come help him. Like, who's going to watch out for the little man? And then I think like most heroes, they're perfectionists in some way, very afraid of failure because they have martyrdom syndrome. Went ahead and grabbed a heavy jacket just because that's a really solid starting item. Gives you an extra soak. And what else does it do? Yeah, just an extra soak, and it's very little encumbrance. Going on to skills, yeah, late game went ahead, dropped a couple. A big chunk of it went into the mechanics thing because that's a skill you can use to build your specialized arrows. But most of it went into that ranged. By late game, you're going to be rolling with 3 yellow and 2 green, which pretty much means you should almost never miss. Then, apart from that, dropped 1 more rank in skullduggery, just because, in my mind, these people are very roguish, so block picking.
So, creative design. Let's talk about that.
That comes out of the fully operational book, and it is as part of resolving a successful crafting check. Your character may also apply a result equivalent to spending a number of advantage equal to their ranks in creative design. The GM may also apply the result equivalent to the same number of threats. Basically, when you make a craft check for every rank that you have in creative design, you can add 1 advantage to the roll. And then the next one is Finesse. That comes out of the realms of Terranoff. I hope I'm saying that right. And,
sounds right to me.
Yeah, when making a brawl or melee light check, your character may use agility instead of brawn. Let's see, and then moving on to grit, just add a strain. It's a good skill for most people to take, and it works well also with that special ability of adrenaline rush, and kind of helps you manage your strain a little better.
Yeah.
I don't need to talk about that one a whole lot. But hamstrung, this is the second way I thought of making specialized arrows. Is there talents that you can take that allow your ranged attacks to have special effects? Yeah. Once per round, your character may use this talent to perform a ranged combat check against 1 non-vehicle target within range of the weapon used. If the check is successful, have the damage inflicted by the attack before reducing damage by the target soak. The target is immobilized until the end of the next turn. Yeah, and then the last one is just a talent that I take for pretty much all my characters, Quick Draw. Once per round on your character's turn, they may use this talent to draw or holster an easily accessible weapon or item as an incidental. Skipping on along to Tier 2.
Tier 2.
First one, I took was Disorient. This one does come from Age of Rebellion and Edge of the Empire, which are the Star Wars settings. But I thought it seemed really cool. After hitting with a combat check, may spend 2 advantage to disorient the target for a number of rounds equal to ranks in disorient, which I thought could be the very comical, like, fire the arrow and then a boxing glove pops out of it, and
that's cool.
Like that kind of arrow.
Yes.
Yeah, or like a Jack in the Box, or like it could even be like a mini like flashbang, like a spark flash or something like that. That could be cool if you wanted to go the more serious route. I'm not saying you have to.
Yeah, but this is another one that you can take multiple times to draw the effect out. Which, if you just wanted to take this 3 times, you could probably effectively remove an opponent from combat.
Yeah.
And then, let's see, Dynamic Fire is another one for a special thing. That one also comes from Age of Rebellion. When making a ranged attack while engaged with opponent, may suffer 2 strain to reduce the range modifier by 1. So
that's cool.
Yeah, that is basically someone's right on top of me, but I'm still going to shoot them with this bow and arrow anyway, because this is what I do.
Nice.
That's cool.
Moving on, Inventor is another one of the great ones for just kind of building your own. It's kind of just a lot better version of creative design. It comes from the Genesys core rulebook, so no GM should have a problem with it. When your character makes a check to construct a new item or modify existing ones, use this talent to add a number of blue die to the check equal to ranks of Inventor. In addition, your character may attempt to reconstruct devices they have heard described but have not seen and do not have any kinds of plans or schematics for. Next one, Suppressing Fire, is from both the Forged in Battle and Keeping the Peace books. The character and each ally within short range may spend an advantage on their failed combat checks to inflict 1 strain on the target per rank of Suppressing Fire. Each character can only activate this effect once per round. And so it's a way of, like, even if you miss, kind of having some effect. And you could frame this as, I don't know, some kind of, maybe you didn't actually miss, maybe this is like a taser arrow or something. Yeah, kicking up tier 3, the first one's also from the core rulebook, Eagle Eyes. I think this is probably the one that you should take no matter what. This is the maybe one non-negotiable talent. Once per encounter, before making a ranged combat check, you may use this talent to increase your weapon's range by 1 range band to a maximum of extreme range. This lasts for the duration of the combat check. So
Holy wow.
You can just run to extreme range and shoot them, and most opponents won't be able to hit you back, especially if they're tangled up with your partners engaged.
Geez, that's crazy.
So,
next one, Lethal Blows. This is from Age of Rebellion, Edge of the Empire, and Savage Spirits, which is actually a book I hadn't heard of before. But it just adds 10 per rank of lethal blows to any critical injury that you inflict on an opponent. Which, if you look at the crit chart, that's pretty good. There's a lot of some weapons that have like a savage ability or something like that adds this as well.
Called Vicious.
Vicious, that's it. Yeah. And so in Genesys, basically the only way really to die is to be crit to death. So upping your crits any chance you get's a good way to do that. See, skipping along, I went with Utility Belt because it seemed like a fun one. It's also from the Star Wars ones. And it's spend a story point to perform a utility belt incidental, produce an undocumented item, maximum of 1 encumbrance, or weapon with limited ammo, 1 quality, from the tool belt or a satchel. And so this is just a Deus Ex. Here's this arrow that I never said before, but is perfect for this situation. Bop.
That's so good, dude. I love that so much.
Bumping it up and scooting along, because I guess we've been going for a while already. Deadeye, tier 4, it's in the core rulebook. After your character inflicts a critical injury with a ranged weapon and rolls the results, your character may suffer 2 strain to use this talent. Then you may select any critical injury of the same severity to apply to the target instead.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's just, if you don't like the one that your enemy rolled, you can just be like, nah, bro, you take this one instead.
Yeah. That's, wow.
And then the second one that I took for him was Jury Rigged. If I can find that real quick. This is from Star Wars, once again. But it's the character chooses 1 personal weapon or piece of armor per rank of Jury Rigged. He or she may increase the damage of the weapon by 1, decrease the advantage cost on its critical, or any single other effect by 1 to a minimum of 1, or increase armor's range or melee defenses by 1, blah, blah, blah. The rest doesn't matter. I went ahead and put this on the arrow and lowered the crit down to 2 instead of 3, because all about those crits, baby.
And then obviously the tier 5 talent is dedication, the increasing.
Yeah, which we already talked about. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That sounds like about it. Is there anything else you want to mention about these guys, this guy, this archetype, etc., before we call it?
I don't know, the way I imagine closing up every single episode of this, which y'all can feel free to add something after this as well, but my last words were, tell us why we're stupid and wrong and what you would do better in the comments.
I dig that. Yeah. Let us know what we did poorly. Why this doesn't work. What would work better. Why the gymnast is a stupid archetype to choose for this. Say it in the comments because we appreciate that. You can tweet us at RPGs Anonymous 1. Link to the Discord, our Discord community, in the description. We're pretty active on there as well if you want to talk there.
And I think
what
we're
else,
going to try to that we were showing.
Oh, yes. Yeah. We will link the character sheets in the description as well. There'll be like a shared Google Drive with all of them in there. So, yeah, that as well. Anything else to say, guys?
We want to plug Snyder's Return. They are a 5e actual play podcast, and we will have a short audio for the podcast, I think, after this is edited and put out there.
Yeah, and definitely tune in for our Monday night live streams and watch our actual campaign.
Yeah, 9:15 to 9:30 EST. There's a pre-show if you show up a little bit early. Right, that's what that 9:15 is, and we do sillier things during that sometimes.
Yeah. All right. Well, see you in the multiverse.
Adios.